What is up, everybody, and welcome to my full progression game guide on the game known as Marvel Contest of Champions. I've played this game for 9+ years, and I feel like it is finally time to cover everything I know of in this game. Now, from all the experience I've gotten, from all the beginner account challenges, from all the years of playing, from being in inactive alliances to being in very active alliances, doing high tier wars, doing low tier wars, doing as many things as possible in this game that I enjoy. I feel like it is finally time to cover those things. So with that said, I'm gonna cover from the start, Act 1 for the completely new player to the game, all the way up to Act 8, Necropolis, and the ultimate endgame of this game. Because I feel like that is appropriate and that will help out the entire player base of this game. This will really be my one-stop shop ultimate guide, actually. I'm really excited for this. I'm very excited to make this. It's gonna take a while to edit and put all this together and revise everything that I need to cover. I have a full block with everything that I want to cover in front of me, but yeah, let's just jump into it. I guess let's start at the beginning, and that is really the tutorial. Let's get into it. During the tutorial, you'll learn all about the basics of the game: the light attacks, the heavy attacks, the medium attacks, the blocking, the specials, etc. And you'll also get a Nexus Crystal, which is your first encounter with the crystal-based system in this game. A Nexus Crystal offers you 3 choices. In this particular scenario, it'll be Hulk, Black Panther, and Scarlet Witch, all as a 2-star. I recommend going with either Hulk or Black Panther. Scarlet Witch prefers her signature ability, which I'll get into as well. Hulk is the tankier of the two, and I think Black Panther, especially early game, is a bit faster in the completion because he has more DPS, especially early on with his bleeds. So it's really up to you. Do you want a more glass cannon Black Panther or a more tankier Hulk? Either way, the 2-star isn't really going to be of value a couple hours into playing anyway. So make sure to link your email and make a Kabam account. Use that Kabam account for, I guess, your progression, and it'll give you a premium hero crystal as well. The premium hero crystal I'll show you, it will look like this. It will be one of these, and it offers a 2 to 4-star champion. It'll probably be a 3-star. I think all the early game premium hero crystals are a 3-star, especially the first one. And this time I got a 2-star Wolverine. You might get unlucky, you might get a 2-star. You might get really lucky, you might get a 4-star. But I think that first one is going to be locked in as a 3-star. So that 3-star is going to pretty much carry you through Act 1 and Act 2, which I'm going to explain. Act 1 and 2, or any act for that matter, is the story content of this game. If you go over to the fight section, go over to the acts, which is all the way at the beginning, and then Act 1 will show up over here. Probably would have first completed the surrender quest, and as you can see, I've 100%ed all the quests, which means I have completed but also explored the quest. All these quests will have multiple paths, except for the first 3 or 4, I think. As you can see, these have 2, which is really not that bad. I didn't mean to press autoplay, but it's really not that bad. 2 paths, and they're really short. So I recommend you exploring all of Act 1. It'll give you a 3-star. It'll also, with each quest you 100% explore, give another 3-star. So you'll have a 3-star Colossus, you have a 3-star Hawkeye, you'll have a 3-star Gamora with that as well. And then for the completion of the entire quest, or act, it'll make sense, a 3-star Captain America. Out of all of those, if you don't have other 3-stars that are good just yet out of these crystals or whatever else you may get something from, I would really recommend you go with Gamora. Gamora has the damage output, and then otherwise, if Gamora is not really your style, maybe the Colossus, but really it depends on the 3-stars you get along the way, and that is up to you, your playstyle, whatever character suits you. the most and you have the most fun with. So I'm not gonna spend too much time on that particular fact. Now, after Act 1 and completing the beginner objectives, you will see them pop up on your tutorial screen. First one will be for a 2-star Wolverine, and then it'll continue all the way to a 4-star Nick Fury. I really recommend you do those. The 4-star Nick Fury is great, especially if you can awaken him and get his signature ability. After that, I recommend you go straight into Act 2. Act 1 and 2, and a big part of 3 is really just getting to know the game and learning the basics around it. So Act 2, same vibe, entire chapter, multiple paths. You get better rewards because it's obviously a chapter ahead, or an act ahead, as you may say. You get a Nexus 3-star, so they'll offer you 3 choices in your 3-star crystals. You get a lot of units, which is the paid currency, as you would. It's really possible to farm them, but you also use them a lot, so it depends on what your outlook on that is. Then exploring it will get you 2 more of those, and also a awakening gem and some catalysts. Now, there's a lot of stuff going on in this game at once. The catalysts are for ranking up your champions. The ISO that you may find in these quests, as you see over here, is used for leveling up, and then if it's max level, the champion, then you can rank up. Now, you also have these awakening gems. Now, what did the awakening gems do? When first pulling a champion, it is the base champion. Now, if you pull them another time, you will unlock what we call their signature ability. Signature abilities give extra effects, just extra added onto the regular champion, but you have to pull them another time. So if I pull, let's say, you get the 2-star Hulk. If you get another 2-star Hulk, it'll unlock the signature ability. Now, the awakening gems are just a way of getting that signature ability without having to pull the champion another time. As you can see over here, if we go to champion info, signature ability, the blue one is unlocked, and she is awakened. Now, let's say I go to a champion that does not have its signature ability, my 7-star Void, for example. You can see the signature ability is locked, it's in red, and I don't have it unlocked because I haven't duplicated or awakened with a awakening gem my 7-star Void just yet. So that is really those resources early game and everything you need to know about it. You got those catalysts, which are important, and then the ISO to rank up your champions. Now, be careful with the ISO. ISO is probably the rarest or most difficult to farm resource at the moment in this game, so be careful with who you level up. Don't spend your time leveling up 10 or 20 different champions. It really doesn't help your progression as much. Just focus on the couple best ones in your roster, and that will get you the furthest. Now, as I said, I have an entire just script of everything that I want to cover, so I really kind of have to deep dive into this and everything that I know about the game. It's really fun revisiting all of this, though, I can't lie. I really enjoy it, making this stuff for you guys. So I really do hope it helps you guys out. And if you're a new player and you enjoy this type of stuff, subscribe. It's free. It helps out the channel, and it really shows how much you appreciate the effort that I put into a video like this. So after you've done Act 2, I would recommend you to start with looking into an alliance. Just any alliance at that point is fine. You'll get a 3-star. You can do that after Act 1 as well. You'll get a 3-star, and it'll really help with progression, alliance events, and alliance quest, war, and other things are really helpful. But I'll get into those after I cover pretty much the entire game. I'm gonna cover the alliance stuff at the end. But get into an alliance and get yourself used to the stuff in there. And if you want to know what that is exactly, then yeah, I'll have hopefully timestamps in the video so you can see what is up. So then you're in an alliance, and then we'll hop into what to do next. After completing Act 1 and 2, you'll probably want to start on, you guess it, Act 3. Now, you have a lot of these things called units, the paid currency in the game. The one at the top right of your screen over here. From exploring all of these quests, as you can see, they give a lot. Act 3 will give even more, but I want you to save them up. I want you to use them on something else than buying crystals, because buying crystals is really taking a gamble. You want something that is a little bit better return on investment, and especially early game, I would call those your masteries. Up on your profile, go over here, you can see your mastery screen. Now, my mastery setup is built on whatever I use, so I really would not take that into account as much. There are, though, in fact, 2 masteries that you really need. One you will unlock from the game itself just by playing. You will get parry. The parry mastery is whenever you do a well-timed block, you stun the opponent. Now, the other one you want to go ahead and unlock is dexterity. This will allow you to dodge specials, dodge attacks better, and it'll really up your offensive game pretty much, and also your defensive abilities, to take less damage, completely avoid damage by dodging special attacks, and you'll have to practice them, but those 2 are absolutely crucial to any progression in this game. Doing it without them would really be torturing yourself. So I really do recommend getting those 2. As of the rest of your points, you can go ahead and I'd recommend maybe start unlocking the crit rate and crit damage masteries, or yeah, critical rating and then the critical damage rating of all champion masteries. By unlocking those cost units as well. Personally, I really like to unlock willpower. Willpower is a mastery that is just so good on defense. Anytime you have a debuff on you, you regenerate a percentage of your health, and you also gain armor until the effect expires. It has no effect on robots, as it says in the description, but really this helps so much just with your survivability and any type of well, defensive, I guess, well, anything defensive and trying to heal up is great. And then on offense, when you get afflicted with a debuff as well, it really does heal you up. So willpower is great. Those crit rates and critical damage rating masteries are great. I like despair and deep wounds because I play a lot of bleed type champions. And then over here, the other mastery that I want to go over is stupefy. It enhances your stun duration. It allows for prolonged combos. It allows for just different playstyles with champions. And stupefy is really just a great mastery to take up on, especially early game, if you have the units for it. Now, when going into Act 3, you'll probably start to struggle a bit with the power level in there, and that is because you need to rank up your champions. So you'll probably have something along the lines of a ranked up 3-star, maybe rank 2 or 3, and that is something like, well, we'll pick this one for now, Silver Surfer. Rank 1, the rating is a bit higher probably than what yours will be, but yeah, rank 1, level 10, leveled up. Now, you want to rank up, but you need tier 2 basics and tier 1 of whatever class the champion is. And when you do that, it will look like this. Rank 2, and then when you max level the champion, then rank 2, level 20, you'll need better resources to rank up. So tier 2 basics still, but just more, and then tier 2 of whatever class you need. After doing that, you'll get the option to rank 3. And that will show itself in this manner, if you give me a hot second. Tier 3 basics and tier 2, or just more of the tier 2 class that you already wanted. Now, maxing that out, it'll look like a maxed out champion like this. If you go over to the champion info, it will not show the upgrade section anymore, but rank 4, level 40 is the max a 3-star can go to. For a 4-star, that's 550. For a 5-star, that's 565. Rank 5, level 65. For a 6-star, that's also rank 5, 65. And then for a 7-star, at the moment, rank 2, 35 is the highest it can go to. So you want those rank up resources. Now, how do you go about getting those rank up resources? If you go over to the daily quest section, you can see you have a couple things unlocked here. I don't know exactly what shows up, but I think everything you see here you should have as well. The proving grounds are for the basic catalysts. As you can see, once you have them 100%ed, you can auto play them as well. They just say 0% because that's 0% what I've done today. They reset on a daily basis, but if you 100% complete them once, you can auto play them if you want for a certain amount of energy. How much do I have? 50. It looks like this, autocomplete, bang, you get the catalyst that you need, and then you can auto play it once a day. So basic catalyst you get from the proving grounds, easy being the tier 1s, medium being tier 2, hard, the one we just did, is tier 3, and then expert gives tier 4 shards. I think the tier 4 shards are the only ones that are shards and not fully formed crystals. The other ones, easy, medium, hard, are fully formed catalysts. Fully formed catalysts. And yeah, you can farm those, get them from there, use them to rank your champions up. The class ones is from here. Also, easy gives tier 1, medium gives tier 2, hard gives tier 3, and expert gives shards of tier 4. Now, you have tier 5 basics and tier 5 class catalyst. You have tier 6 basics and tier 6 catalyst, but those you cannot get anymore from the proving grounds nor the catalyst vault. Now, you also have ISO 8 fields. I wouldn't really recommend doing these early game, but we'll get into how you can go about using them to your advantage as well very soon. But yeah, tier 5 and tier 6 of the catalyst you can get elsewhere, but we'll get into that when you are ready to get into that as well. But yeah, you can use those to your advantage, rank up your champions, then get into Act 3. I recommend you do the exact same with Act 3, just 100% the quest, and that'll also give you your first 4-star. Now, while doing all of this, it's the first week, so you will have a sigil, the Summoner's Sigil, which unlocks the Black ISO market for you. I still have it. It is the paid sigil, which just enhances your ability to play the game as you would. You really don't need it though, but for the first week, players, you will have this unlocked and you can use it to your advantage. So you can use it in here in the Black ISO market. When you have it, I want you to pick up a couple things. These boosts are great. Pick those up if you can. If you can trade in some potions for sigil health potions, please do. And in that first week, you will probably be able to pick up these premium hero crystals. They are at a discounted price and you can use premium shards to get them. Those are great. You could get this one. The ultimate crystal gives a 3 or 4-star champion for 4,000 premium shards. I think that's worth it, especially in the first week. And then there's not much else you really need to get in that first week, but I just want you to use it to your advantage. There used to be, oh no wait, these health potions might be useful as well if you have the extra gold. So then you 100% Act 3, you get the 2 4-star Nexus crystals, which also still give 3 options, and they are really gonna have to be a champion that you can work with and rank up for Act 4. Now, these are a new resource introduced in Act 3 rewards. It is rank up gems. They basically are just a free rank up from a rank 2 to 3 in this case, or a rank 3 to 4, and you won't have to use catalyst to rank up a champion. Use those to your advantage, save yourself the trouble of getting the catalyst, and then yeah, obviously save the units again from Act 3 to buy masteries or to do other things, which we will get into as well, and how to farm units and everything. All the farming stuff will be later in this video as well. This will really be a all inclusive guide, a one-stop video for the entire game, hopefully. If I miss anything out, please do let me know, and comment it down below. Hopefully I can cover it in the comments. Did I miss anything? I don't think I did. So, oh, I guess, yeah, that makes sense. You really don't want to be spending revives in Act 1, 2, 3 just yet. They will really come in helpful in the later acts. So just keep that in mind. Rank up champions instead of using revives to go through content. Because, yeah, that ends up using your units if you use a lot of them, but if you just use a couple, I guess it's alright, you can farm them, but it's just a rare resource at the moment, so yeah, save them if you can. Now, let's get into, I guess, Act 4. I guess at this point you should be ready to go into Act 4, have some 4 stars ranked up, and it'll really set you up for a great start into the rest of the content. Okay, Act 4 now, and this is really just at the beginning of the game. At this point, you're basically still in the tutorial, but it gets exciting here because you kind of step into this new part of the game where it gets a little bit more challenging. You have to really think about your rank up decisions, and not just any champion will work, because this is also the time when you first encounter things like nodes, which buff up certain champions, and I'll show you a good example of this Venom, for example. These linked nodes, which if you take out the linked champion, you get rid of the node, and then the local nodes, which are on the champion no matter what you do. And then there's global nodes, but you probably would have seen them before in the quest already, but those are mainly just attack and health boosts for the bosses that you fight, or for the champions that you fight. There's a adaptive global node here, but yeah, nodes, really cool thing, really puts a extra dimension on the game, and they can really get challenging. Act 4, your first completion of Act 4 will be a first 5-star champion, which is great. I really do hope that every single one of you gets a good first option out of this. And Act 4 is really about just building that base roster. You get more rank up gems, you see the nodes for the first time. Act 4 has a lot of paths and content to go through. If you do Act 4 clearing or exploration, I'd recommend you use XP boosts, because it's a lot. It is a lot. Back in my day, sounding like the oldie here, but back in my day, Act 4 really wasn't worth completing, and up until like 6 to 8 months ago, it really wasn't. And that's the one thing that I covered in my first Ultimate Progression Guide, which was from Act 1 to 4, and I was planning on doing part 2, but this really just encompasses everything that I wanted to do in both of those. But yeah, I said that Act 4 and 5 were not worth exploring because of the very limited rewards to effort ratio, but nowadays Act 4 rewards are actually pretty solid, and for the early game beginner that really never touched this game before, I recommend you go through it, because you're gonna need some of those rewards before you go into Act 5, and it'll save you resources in the long run, especially those units and revives, which you really want to take care of and manage your stash. So doing Act 4 and 100%ing it, in my opinion, is worth it. Other content creators might say otherwise, but in my opinion, and doing all those new accounts, I feel like it is well worth your time and effort, although it can be a bit long, so take your time doing it. A great way of going about this, the first clear, obviously you're gonna have to do by yourself, but after that, I think you're already level 19, or I'm quite sure from all that XP you are from a first clear, but after level 19 you unlock autoplay. If you've completed the entirety of Act 4 and you have a decent roster already, you might have taken your time, build it up a little bit more, you might be able to autoplay Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, and then you can go into Act 5. Now, Act 5 is where fun ends and stress begins, because this is where those notes that you had in Act 4 really get turned up a notch, and not to a point that it's impossible, but to a point where it's mentally challenging to try to keep everything together and really see what each node is doing, how it impacts your champions, and how to counter them. Act 5 is a great way to really test those limits, and it used to be a lot harder. Act 5 nowadays is kind of easy still for definitely the experienced player. But those rewards, again, are worth the completion. On my Paragon speedrun account, I even 100%ed Act 5 as a part of that speedrun because I needed those rewards. So, yeah, going from noob to pro, Act 5 is really great for just exploration. But I'm gonna go through parts of Act 5 because this is where the game really picks up. I'm gonna go through parts of Act 5 that might be an issue, and that could really bother your progression. So I'm gonna go through some of those bosses and some of those things that could be annoying. So 5.1 is still pretty straightforward. The only boss that I quickly want to touch on is the Electro. You get damage back from him if you hit him with contact physical attacks. So the things you can do to counter that is, well, either bring a champion that can heal, preferably regen champs, or champions that do a lot of damage over time, like bleed, poison, shock, stuff like that, because those ticks won't damage you back. It's just the first impact, the first, what is it? Yeah, contact point. So the attack. So the Electro is the only boss I actually want to cover in 5.1. That could be somewhat annoying. The other ones really aren't that bad. The Moon Knight may evade you a couple times. Keep the Venom at a special 1 because the special 2 is annoying to Dex. Dexterity, that is. Besides that, it's really pretty straightforward. But Act 4 and 5, after the rework, to my understanding so far, after 9 years of playing, are now worth exploring fully. 5.2, it gets interesting. It gets a little bit, spicy in the content. The Hood, really keep him at a special 1. The special 2 will either kill you or deal a lot of block damage. So keep him at a special 1. Joe Fixit, special 2 is the easiest. Psylocke doesn't matter, actually, that first quest. The Lines in the Sandstorm used to be the big bad wolf of 5.2, which nowadays is really pretty straightforward still. Use a bleed immune champion if you can, because she has, I think, the Caltrops node where if you dash back you get bleeds on you. So use a bleed immune. And this is where the willpower mastery also comes in handy. If you don't have a bleed immune, you'll start to heal based on the debuffs you have on you. Now, you have the Daredevil, which is your first interaction with the node known as Bane. Bane is a degeneration debuff you get on you if you don't hit. Well, it's kind of like a ping pong. You hit the Daredevil, you place the degen on him, the timer expires, and then it automatically transfers to you. The next time you hit after that, it'll transfer back. So you really want to get that timing down, where if the timer goes off and it goes to you, you instantly hit him back, so you don't take as much degen damage. It'll make sense in the quest, but Bane is one of those nodes that could deal a lot of damage to you, or could deal a lot of damage to your opponent if you utilize it correctly. But that is your first quest where you really get thrown into the Bane portion, or the Bane node, and it's an interesting one to work with. Now, besides that, the Daredevil really isn't that bad, but it's the next quest, 5.2.6, the big bad wolf nowadays of Act 5, and that is, of course, the Collector. The Collector is a dude that has, well, taken many souls along the years, and he's the big question mark of this quest. I'm sure you know of him, but look at those nodes. I'm sorry, really been tired over the past week trying to create all of this, but yeah, the Collector, interesting interesting fight. This is the first time or the first champion that I really recommend you look up the boss fight before you go into it. Look at a guide, look at a completion guide, a collector fight before you go in, because he has a couple things that you want to take into account, which is, again, the Bane node. The Bane node is on the collector as well. You have the tenacity, which, if you're not familiar with tenacity, he has a chance of shrugging off your debuffs. So there's a chance your parry won't work. There's a chance your bleed debuffs, your poison debuffs, that they don't work. So you want to keep that in mind. And then after a certain percentage, and I think it is like it's 55%. If he's below 55%, his specials will go unblockable. So that's where this weird gameplay starts to come in, where you want to deal as much damage as possible before he gets to throw a special, pretty much. And this is one of those bosses where you will probably have to revive through and boost up as much as you can to get him down. And that's really your first encounter with a fight in this game, which will probably cost you a couple revives or units depending on how much you have saved up. The Collected, there's a couple things you can do to counter it though. There's champions like Ghost, like Kitty Pryde, like Miles Morales that have some phasing or invisibility abilities that could kind of make their way around this fight easily, and you could use it to your advantage. There's plenty of fights on this guy on YouTube as well, so I'm not gonna do a fight showcase or whatever, because I feel like that won't do it justice enough. Those guides out there are more than proficient at explaining all of that. I'm just giving you the tips and a walkthrough through the progression, I guess, of the game. So the Collector is an annoying boss, but after that you'll definitely reap the rewards. It'll unlock a game mode called Battlegrounds. You'll be able to progress through to 5.3, which is great because 5.3 is, in my opinion, definitely a lot less bad than the Collector in general is, and the rest of Act 5 really isn't that bad, and you'll just be at the boss in 5.4 in no time. I'm gonna cover some of these though before we go over there, but yeah, that is the Collector. Let's hop into 5.3. Okay, Act 5.3. You're really getting into this game now. Act 5.3 is interesting, not really that much to go into, but I'm covering some of those bosses that might possibly cause a issue here. Mordo, he has power gain, which is something you can counter easily by baiting his heavy attack just before he gets it. And then when he throws it, you go in, get rid of the power gain by hitting. Same kind of vibe as Bane. And yeah, if you've not fought a Mordo at this point, then yeah, that's something you can do to easily counter his power gain. Then there's the Hyperion. The Howard and the Rogue aren't that hard. The Hyperion, you really want to focus on the power gain as well. This power gain you can't get rid of that easily though. You either have to use a Mystic Champion to nullify or neutralize, and or Fate Seal. I guess there's more buffs now that do that, but otherwise just manage his power by baiting his specials. If you can, special 1 or 2. His special 3 kind of hurts, especially if he's the boss here, so yeah, you really don't want to get hit by that. Then there's the Black Panther Civil War, and my notes on him were just don't parry when he has the armor ups, because that stun will reflect and you'll get stunned. He'll reflect all of the damage as well if he hits you after that, and that'll just not be any fun. So yeah, try to stay away from parrying him when he has a armor up. And then there's the Green Goblin. He just has a lot of healing. His specials might be a little bit annoying to dodge, especially the special 1. I don't know why I'm this tired, by the way, or yawning this much. It might be because of the lights and the screens in front of me, that it's all like a lot, but I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I hope I don't influence you with the yawning. The Green Goblin though is really healing. If you have a heal block, that's fine. Otherwise the fight's just gonna be a bit longer, but just keep that in mind. Now, Act 5.4. The Punisher might be a little annoying because he does a lot of block damage. His specials aren't really that dexable, so you just end up taking a lot of block damage. The Morningstar deals some bleed to you, but really isn't that bad. Then there's the Hela. She is a bit more interesting. On the Furies that she gains Unstoppable. She gains Furies every 30 seconds. And also by charging up heavies, I think she gains Furies. And then there's also a node where... Wait. I had something... She has... I don't know if she does, but I think she goes unblockable when she has an Unstoppable on or something. There's something with unblockable and unstoppables. So she's a bit tricky. Keep that in mind, I guess. The MODOK... you need to strike his block to gain power, so that's a bit annoying. His what is it, flux something suit always stays online. You can heavy attack him though, that's fine, but just don't do full combos, ending on a medium especially, because then you can't dash back, you'll get hit, long day, and that's basically it. Just heavy attack and you'll be fine. And then there's the Mephisto. Mephisto does a lot of Incinerate damage. If you have Incinerate immune, that's perfect. If you have a Science Champion to reduce that, that's also good. If you have an immune, Incinerate immune Science Champion, that's even better. But yeah, you really just want to counter his Incinerate. So stay away when he has the aura up, if you don't have an immune champ. This guy gets a lot of auras though, so it might be a bit of a long and annoying fight. He also gains power from those auras, so if you can, bait special 1s. If you really can't, bait special 2s, but just stay away after because he gains the aura, unless you have the Incinerate immune. Those are those 5 fights. They are a little bit more tricky and stepping up to a more difficult game. And then there's the Ultron. In my opinion, he's never been that bad, but there's obviously a different opinion about it. He kind of roadblocks some people because you need a specific counter for this Ultron. Kinda. You can do it without, but it gets annoying. Magnetos are great. Cosmic Champions with high DPS are fine. Then there's Nebula, which completely shuts down robots when she has more than 5 of those shock charges up. You just never want to parry him then, because that gets rid of the charges and then he has his abilities again. So Nebula works. I actually used her in the Paragon speedrun, I think. Then there's Wiccan, which I made a video about. If you look up 5.4.6 Ultron cheat code MCOC, then it should pop up. I think there's multiple videos from other people that made the same video, which is fine. I don't blame them. It's a good concept. But yeah, there's the cheat code video with the Wiccan thumbnail. It'll showcase how to do that. I think that's still up. And that should still work, so he's really good. And then there's Loki. I've never really used the Loki method. I found it pretty annoying, that's why I mentioned it last. It should be a last resort. If nothing else works, then Loki can do it as well, but you would have to look a video up on that because I never did it. So and with that, I guess playing through Battlegrounds and then doing Act 5 first completion, you get 5k. And then through the chapters, you can get some if you explore the chapters. The first chapter is pretty easy. The second chapter, the Collector, might be annoying to explore. Third chapter and whatever, we're not going to get into that because 5.1 and 5.2 should be doable to explore. And then with that, the completion and Battlegrounds, you will probably have your first 6-star. Unless you've gotten lucky on some crystals, but this will probably be your first 6-star if you haven't gotten lucky. And yeah, based on that, a 6-star is the power equivalent of a rank 4 5-star. So that is really a nice extra addition to your roster, especially if it's a good 6-star. Then that may help you progress further into the acts. So, and I think with that, if you complete Act 4, you get some Nexus 5-stars. You get the 3 to 4 rank up gem for a 5-star as well. So you have some nice power level champs. And then with Act 5, you obviously get a 5-star awakening gem, so if you need that, you can use that as well. You have some signature stones which level up the signature ability we spoke about, and then there's rank up gems again for 6-star champions. So if you have a good 6-star, you can rank them up. And exploring Act 5 will also give a second 6-star. Now, exploring Act 5 or going into Act 6 is kind of a debate in my head as well, because Act 5 is easy, in my opinion, to explore compared to the level you have to go to get Cavalier in 6.1. So I'd probably explore most of Act 5 before I hop into Act 6. And that might be a mistake I made in the Paragon speedrun, which I might revisit at some time in the future. But yeah, that is just a little bit of a tip there. You might want to complete Act 5 fully before you hop into Act 6. We're going to cover Act 6. We're going to cover some other game modes as well, like Incursions, Arena, all the other stuff. All these separate game modes I will do after the story content. But yeah, keep in mind that at this point, you will probably have to combine your time and effort doing some of this and then some of the other game modes as well, which I will get into soon. After Act 6, we'll hop into those game modes, and then we'll get into 7 and 8, because I feel like they should also be included to progress further into the game at this point. Otherwise, all the content before that I've mentioned up until this point, you can do without doing the other game modes. You can do the same for Act 6, 7, and 8, but it will really take a longer time if you don't. So we're gonna get into some of the other game modes after I've covered the 6.1 Cavalier part, because then it really is important that you narrow down your focus on some things. So let's get right into that. So Act 6. Oh, do we love this one. Sabertooth. The first one, pretty straightforward. I have a whole list of stuff I want to talk about in Act 6, so that's great. But Act 6.1.1 Sabertooth. If you can bring a heal blocker, that will really help you. The Sabertooth really isn't that bad. It's the quest node that gets difficult in here. It is the if you dash back twice too fast, you get a degen. Pretty annoying, but my advice would be practice. Just go in, practice the fights, practice the node. Don't spend revives just yet. Just back out, go back in, practice until you feel comfortable with the node, and then go in for a full run. This might cost you a revive or two, depending on how much you have your champions ranked up, and how good at you are at fighting the node, actually, and fighting these champions. The specific paths and who is best for what, I'm gonna leave up to a big help of the channel, which is the MCOC Noob, his guides on the easy completion of these quests. He has put out some great content over the years. He has over 50k subscribers. Congratulations. I think that was kind of recent, but he has put out a easy path guide for all of these quests, which I'm not going to go into because that will make this too long. What path is the easiest, because that also depends on what champions you have. Like what I could be very comfortable fighting in Hyperion. You could be way more comfortable fighting in Ultron, you know? So it really gets into just the personal preference and the nodes and the champions you have. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to give advices on the bosses, because those we really can't evade. So the Ultron isn't that bad. It's the Sentinel mini boss that's before the Ultron in that second quest over here. And this is basically your 6.1.2 is your immunities quest. You need a poison immune, bleed immune, mainly the bleed immune, as I think it's biohazard in there, which is you get poisoned if you hit their block, bleed if you hit them. So yeah, it's the Sentinel mini boss, which gets annoying. The Ghost isn't that bad. Then there's the Loki, which isn't that bad. Crossbones, you just need a poison immune, and you should be fine. And then you have the Sentinel, which is just a endlessly long fight, But with the completion of the quest called Birthright, that Sentinel down here, you unlock what is called the, if I can get to there, the Cavalier title. You need Act 6 Chapter 1 completed, and that is exactly what you'll be doing by completing that Sentinel fight. And that's 6.1 done. You're now Cavalier. Well done. Act 6 is really where the pain starts, in my opinion, in the story content. It is very challenging. It is annoying because the rewards aren't that great, because this hasn't gotten a rework on the rewards just yet. Only the difficulty got scaled down a bit. So I'm gonna get into some of the other game modes here, which are Battlegrounds, the arenas, the event quests and side quests, and then the back issues, and the special quests. So those 6 I'm gonna get into. The Alliance events, as I said, at the end, after all the story and extra content is finished, I'm gonna cover the Alliance stuff. Right now I'm gonna cover the stuff that is in the game at the moment, and also incursions. It's not here right now, but I can still cover it, as I know kind of what the deal is without seeing the game mode. So yeah, let's get right into those. Okay, let's get into this. You have a couple things to worry about here, or to take into consideration. You have, on a monthly rotation, the event quest and the special quest. Now this is the event quest, coming in at all different levels, ranging from contender to thronebreaker. They'll unlock as you progress through those story content titles, based on the acts that we were going through. This is the Uncollected one. You get rewards based on your progression level, pretty much. And then there's the monthly Paragon Gauntlet for the players that 100% explore the Thronebreaker difficulty. This month just reset, so I've not gotten the time to actually 100% it yet, so I can't show you the gauntlet, but it's basically all the bosses combined in one quest. And yeah, then you have the special quest, or the side quest, as you might call. This month's side quest, as I said, just came in. The side quest might differ from month to month, but usually it works with either a ticket system, or a limited entry system, or a limited reward system. If you 100% the quest, then you're done. The last one, which is this one, has a ticket system. As you can see up here, you have these hard-coded keys. I still have 19 to complete. And then yeah, you have these different weeks, different rewards, or in this case, same rewards, different profile pictures to earn. And then there's this month's side quest. You get different resources, these diamonds, which you can also use, or Mysterium as they call them. I'm just gonna call them diamonds or something. But yeah, and you can either get the rewards from the quest, or there's a store pop-up, as you can see here, the Trader's Outpost, and you get these bundles which you can get, which is cool. I like those type of side quests. They usually give a lot of rewards, and they are definitely worth doing. Usually they come with a set of special quests along the way. So in the third level 5, you get different objectives to complete, which is great. They just give more rewards, dust and stuff like that. And this is the entry for the gauntlet, by the way. And yeah, they have gauntlet challenges as well, which give dust, runestones, which is great. So yeah, you want to take these objectives into account: special dailies, the battleground objectives, the dailies, the weeklies, and then there's the arena challenges, which I'm gonna get into, but not too much, because they are permanent content in the game and you can complete them at any time you want. I've really not done many of them because I don't enjoy that part of the game as much as I enjoy other things, so I just spend my time doing what I enjoy most, because you can really just form your time spending as how you want, pretty much. Then there's incursions, which I want to touch on. It isn't in the game at this current time, which is kind of annoying, but incursions is this game mode where you can team up with a friend or go in solo, and you go through these levels, and they get increasingly harder as you go on. You get artifacts and gold, and you can use those artifacts. The each level also gives each zone gives zone rewards as you complete them. But here's the incursion store. These are the artifacts. I have 57k at the moment, which cannot really actually get me anything that I need. But yeah, as you unlock more champions, you unlock more of these crystals, and you can use your incursion shards to buy these crystals. Now, if you need ISO, some endgame players spend their incursion shards on getting 4-star crystals to get more ISO. If you're in need of ISO, personally, I just like to save up for the highest tier, the 7-star crystals, and go for those. But that is incursion. It's great for gold, for ISO if you use your artifacts for that, or for champions. But gold nonetheless, and those shards that you get from completing the zones, which ranges from 3 to 7-star shards. So that's incursions. Personally, I don't play it as much. It's time consuming, but the rewards are pretty decent, especially for early game players doing zones 2 to 4. It could really benefit you. And with that said, I have a Discord, and in the Discord we have channels for incursion partners and stuff like that. If you want to join the Discord, the link should be down below. And yeah, we have over 700 people there in the community, so if you want to join, then feel free to. With that plug put in, don't forget to subscribe and like the video if this stuff helps you out, and let's get right back into it with BGs as in Battlegrounds. The new season just dropped, season 16, and yeah, I lost the match as well, gosh damn it. But yeah, Battlegrounds is the PvP game mode. You take on each other's defenders, you create a deck, you have a draft style placement, pick and ban for the defenders and attackers. You try to counter your opponents, get a deck together based on the current nodes. The nodes switch around every season. You have the victory check, but you also have the gladiator circuit. Gladiator circuit comes in after you go past vibranium, and then it goes into the gladiator circuit, and you get different ranks and different rewards based on the ranks. Pretty straightforward, but Battlegrounds also has the tokens, and with those tokens comes the Battlegrounds store. Now, the Battlegrounds store is interesting. It just got a rework. This will be based on your progression levels, so the stuff you see here might not be seen in your store, because I am currently Valiant, which is the highest title in the game. So for, I think, 95% of the player base, this store will look different to mine, but just get an idea of what is going on here. There's different things, relic rank up resources, which I think you really shouldn't be spending your tokens on. I do, because I am lacking in the relic upgrades, and relics affect your prestige. I want to get my prestige up there, but that's a very end game thing, not necessary for an early game player at all. So stay away from upgrading relics or buying relic upgrade materials in the BG store. There's much better things to do with your tokens. I'm gonna pick up the victory shield here because that's really quite useful. But with your tokens, I would say if you have good champions, then you want to focus on using them to buy rank up resources in here. The tier 2 alphas cost 30 for me to buy these, but probably be more expensive if you're a lower tier. Then there's the class catalyst, the tier 4, the tier 5, and the tier 6 stuff, which is great. You can use those, and you can rank up your champions, and that is probably my advice to use your Battlegrounds tokens on. But if you don't have good champions, then you could use them until your Cavalier for 5-star shards. So between Uncollected and Cavalier, from 5.2 to 6.1, you're still Uncollected, and you can use them for 5-star shards to get more 5 stars to build out your roster, and it's really quite nice to do that. If you don't have the champions yet to progress into the game, and you have champions you don't want to level up just yet. Once you get Cavalier, it might be worth investing into these 6 stars and get the 6-star shards. And then after you've done that, you can get the rank up resources. The 7-star shards still quite expensive, but for an endgame player, this is probably something you'd spend your Battlegrounds tokens on. as you have nothing else to spend them on. Stuff like 5-star and 6-star signature stones don't really do much anymore. The rank up resources might not be necessary, and after you've bought your tier 6 and maybe your tier 6 fragment crystals, you really don't have anything else to spend them on. So yeah, I'd say that might come in useful, but this is the same as duping 2 6-stars, which is really easy as well, especially at an end game. So it's still pretty expensive in my opinion. That's the BG store covered. That's Battlegrounds covered. It's a PvP game mode. It's pretty much the most PvP this game gets. And now we're covering some of the other things. Arena is next up, and then we're getting into the special quests, which is the 8th quest thing down here, and then the back issues. So Arena is great for a couple reasons, and is really bad for another couple reasons. I'm gonna get into the good first, then the bad. It's good because this is a great way to get, it's your free-to-play option to get units and to get gold and other stuff like that, the battle chips and stuff, which lead to more gold in units. So gold in units, Arena is your guy. That is the good thing about it. If you're free to play, Arena is great for farming those resources, and especially the Summoner Trials is the best at the moment to farm those resources. I made a full guide on farming units and gold and ISO and rank up resources and everything along those lines that will be in the guides playlist, but just covering the basics. Summoner Trials is the best for units, and after you've done all the milestones, the other two are obviously then worth getting into. In my opinion though, use your energy and time to do the Summoner Trials. They reap the most rewards, but only if you have 330 4-stars and above, rank 330 4-stars and above, because those really speed up the process. Otherwise it might be worth jumping into these, using your 5, 6 and 7 stars to gain some points in here and get the resources out of that. The Catalyst Clash, really, I never used it and I was fine, but if you really need those tier 4 basics, you might want to get these. They are on a different rotation than the regular arenas, but hey. And then this month there is also the Magic Heist, which comes in from adding sagas into the game. So I don't know if these will return, these monthly arena things, but they are, in my opinion, a good addition, also a bad addition, because I see what they're trying to do, or at least I think I know what they are trying to pull off with this. And adding this arena in is great. It gives more rewards, it gives the gold, it gives ISO, and it's stuff that people have been asking for, but it's spread out over a month. You gotta do 2 full rounds, pretty much 2 and a bit every day to get the points and to get the raffle tickets, but you have to do it every day, which, this is where it gets interesting, right? Arena is a game mode that a lot of the older player base found just really repetitive, which is the negative part of this. It's really repetitive, and it's kind of just annoying to do, but you know you gotta do it. You know, there's that type of vibe. For units, you gotta do it, units in gold, but it's kind of annoying and repetitive. Having to do this arena every single day might encourage people to do the other arenas as well, because you're doing it every day anyway, so you might do more than you need to, which will then, over time, if you do it every day for a month, create a habit of playing arena more and more and more. So it's pulling people back into the arenas, which, if that's what they're trying to do, then great. But in my opinion, the arenas need a bit of a rework, because the rewards aren't worth it anymore, and just trying to get them back into them isn't really gonna be enough. So that's the annoying thing. So my opinion on this would be, fine, do that, let the people create those habits of playing arena daily, but then also reward them with, after having this Magic Heist up for a month and getting people to play arena each day for a month, rework the arenas in 2 weeks, have them reworked, and make the other arenas worth it, so people will continue playing arenas. If that's, as a company, what you're trying to accomplish, make them worth it, or make them more enjoyable in a way. I get that this whole game mode is repetitive, but make them worth it in a way where it's fun to play for it, I guess, and not just units and gold. Do some other stuff with it. That is my opinion on arenas, though. Great for units and gold. I've made full guides on both of those, so check those out if you haven't. I also have a mastery guide, rank up resources guide, ISO guides, and other stuff, so feel free to check those out. But that is just a basic rundown of arena. You play rounds and matches and you get units and gold. That's pretty much it. Get the milestones. Now, other two things, the back issues and the special quest. Now, the back issues, in my opinion, you have two difficulties: variant and classic. Now, variants are more annoying to do. They are time consuming, somewhat difficult content, and the rewards really aren't that great compared to the current state of the game. That's why you can see, as I was scrolling through, not done, not finished, completed but not explored, same here, not even done, not done, completed, not explored, and halfway or not even. So in my opinion, it's really not worth the time and effort anymore to do these. The rewards just aren't good enough to get into all of this with, actually. It's just not worth it, in my opinion. Now, you have the classic difficulties as well. As you can see, I've 100% explored all of them except this one, which is pretty much done, except for one quest. So, why is that, right? The classic difficulty, you can easily autoplay. That's a good thing, in my opinion, because they give units. Now, if you go into here, you go into view quest rewards, it's a decent bit. It's 35 for the entire exploration of that single quest. Now, imagine that over 3 chapters, and then also just how many? 8, 5, 6, 7, yeah, 8. It said that on the beginning page. It says 8 quests, but yeah. Imagine that over 8 of them for all those quests in all those chapters. That's a good bit of units you can farm just by auto playing it. This is really, really easy content, and you can just select whatever team and it can auto play this for you easily, I'm sure. Especially at this point, if you're Act 5, Act 6, when you have the spare energy, just go into there, auto play the classic difficulties, get your units, and just get out. In my opinion, the variants just aren't worth the rewards anymore. They could rework the rewards, that could help, but it's really just older content, which I wished would have stayed relevant for longer. Then maybe I would have jumped into it, but at the time it just didn't seem worth it. Now, the other one thing that I am going to touch on now is the last part of, I guess, extra content, or except for the Winter of Woe, we'll get into that. Extra content that I want to get into, and that's the special quests. Now, this falls into somewhat of the same category as the back issues. A lot of this stuff is just not worth the effort anymore. Realm of Legends, not worth the effort anymore. Labyrinth of Legends, not worth the energy anymore. Road to Labyrinth was never worth it, let's be honest. Then we have Abyss of Legends, also not worth it. I'm gonna skip Necropolis for now because that is actually still relevant, and I'm gonna get back into Necropolis after we've covered the acts, remainder of Act 6, 7, and 8. Eternity of Pain, in my opinion, not really worth it. Grandmaster Gauntlet, still not done, not really needed or worth it. And then there's the Shooting Stars, which in my opinion is great. So, yeah, all 8 quests, there's the Necropolis and Shooting Stars, which I still find relevant to this day. But they are also newer-ish content, so it makes sense. They will be less relevant in months from now. So, I'll get back into the Shooting Stars and the Necropolis because I want to tie them into some content clearing, or some act clearing rather, and I'm just going to talk about the Winter of Woe. It's week 3 right now, and they just have these boss challenges. We have had the boss run challenges, the community challenges. We've now have the Winter of Woe, and these are these boss-ish challenges that the developers or the community make, and you get points based on beating them each week, and they will end up giving rewards. So for each point and stuff that goes on, you get better and better and more rewards as the weeks go on, so that's great. And then there's also the Deathless Champion pieces for special champions hidden in these as well at the moment. So if you can, complete them. If you can't, don't worry. It's just not for you yet. Maybe in the next one you can start completing them, but don't worry about them too much. And in this particular one, if you're Paragon, you can get 2 points. If you're Valiant, you can get 3 points. So keep that in mind. Those are all the, I guess, one person or single player content you can clear in this game at the moment, without covering the Alliance stuff. So I'm gonna get into more of Act 6 and 7 and 8, tie in those Shooting Star quests, tie in those the Necropolis stuff into the content as well, and at what points you should look into doing those. And then I really hope that I'm covering all of the game then at that point. And I'm also going to get into some random stuff. I guess with that said, I do want to quickly cover the bottom right, the solo events. Some of them, these are on the 24-hour cooldown. You have arena wins, you have quest completion, and you have hero use. And then there's other ones, Mystic Advancement solo events. There's different solo events as well. This is the 7-day event that rotates over the sigil. It's based on progression. It's basically, yeah, use an item, level up as champion, whatever, you know. You get points, you get rewards based on if you have the sigil or not. And then there's stuff from the side quests, which you've seen. And then there's the Battlegrounds one, where you get some 6 stars. That's why I said, if you do Act 5 and you complete Act 5, maybe at that point you've played some Battlegrounds, you get some 6-star shards from here. Maybe from the store you've gotten some 5 stars and duped some. And then you will have your first 6 stars. So this is the Battlegrounds event for that. And then there's the same stuff, but for alliances. As you can see, my alliance is pretty inactive, which is fine because I'm very busy. So I'm in a more inactive alliance at the moment, which is fine. So with all that said, let's hop back into Act 6.2, because that is exactly where we left off. Let's get into 6.2. Now, 6.2 is pretty straightforward for a couple fights that you might need some counters. There's the Mr. Sinister, which can be annoying because you need Fury to deal damage, but he also has Caustic Temper, which is a node that puts poisons on you. So you need a poison immune that also has a Fury. And there's a couple things you can do to kind of make your way around it. And one of my favorites actually, is using a Warlock with a synergy from this Robot Uprising. Whenever any teammate will receive a debuff they're immune to, they gain a Fury buff, increasing attack rating by 60% for 6 seconds. So any of these with a teammate, you get the point. They have the whole thing. So Warlock is great. There's some other options. Any like tech champion that has a heal block option, or that has a Fury and stuff, could do it. But it just gets a little annoying if you are reducting your damage by 90% but not having a Fury. It's just a very long fight that way. You could also use a Heimdall synergy, or just any synergy in general that helps with the Furies. Even like Crossbones could work, but you have a class disadvantage and you need to get lucky on the Shrug-offs. So yeah, really using a immune champion that gets a Fury is great. Hulkling is also a option that I just remembered. But yeah, that's the Mr. Sinister. Those are his nodes, and that's kind of how you deal with him. The symbiote, the first quest symbiote and the Omega Red are pretty straightforward. Then there's the Kingpin, and Kingpin is just a long fight, but just keep baiting his special ones and you should be fine. It's just a very, very long fight, because he's tanky. Then there's Mordo. Again, power gain Mordo, but this one has another node which kind of doubles his power gain. Can't remember exactly what the node is called, but yeah, he gets more power gain. So you want to get rid of his power gain that Mordo gains as quickly as possible, and then deal with the other power gain, because you can't deal with that as you would deal with the Mordo power gain. Just by hitting, that one will stay. Then there's the champion boss, which can really be annoying for some people, but this boss is built to be immune to, I think, Nullify, but there's more stuff in the game now, like Neutralize or Fate Seal and stuff like that, and some of them work, some of them don't, because of the way the game is set up. So you can still nullify some of his buffs, but just use like a passive Neutralize from Rintra and stuff like that, and you can kind of get around it, and it should be fine. Mystic champions that nullify, neutralize, and fate seal and stuff are the best, but you can do this fight with pretty much anybody until his last phase, and you gotta practice his phase a bit, his last phase a bit, because you need to specifically dex at the last moment, and that'll reduce one of his charges. He has 3, it used to be 5, used to be a lot more difficult, but you should be fine now. It really isn't that bad. With that said though, I totally forgot to talk about relics, because relics is something you get in Act 4 5-ish, and relics are great. These are the relics that I have, and you can add these onto your champions, and they kind of extend your combo. You can throw your striker or relic once it's charged up, and then it can extend your combo. They inflict a passive stun. I use that as combo extenders, or to stun and then chain into other abilities, or when I push into a special 3, maybe I'm almost at a special 1 that power drains, I use my striker to get the stun, get another combo in, put me to a special 1, then power drain, so he's not at the special 3 anymore. You get the point. You can kind of mix and match and use those to your advantages in these quests. I think I had something else written down for relics as well. Yeah, the abilities on the relics I haven't really focused on that much. I just use the relics to increase basic stats, or to extend the combos. And really besides that, I'm just using the stun to my advantage and not really using relics for anything else. Endgame, they're kind of important for prestige and stuff, but if you're not focused on that, really wouldn't worry too much. Just put them on the champions you enjoy playing on attack, because they are useless on defense. Then, 6.3. There's 2 or 3, depending on your roster, annoying fights in 6.3. That's 8.3. In 6.3. And the first one is the Medusa. The Medusa is annoying because you only deal damage using bleeds. There are a lot of bleed champions in the game, so you should be fine, but you can also auto block. I think she has a regen. She has some annoying stuff, but yeah, she has the do you bleed node, so bring bleed champions and you should be fine. Then if Fury is okay, Havoc, use a champion that has armor ups. I think that's the 3rd yawn for good luck in the video. But yeah, use a champion that has armor ups on them. Warlock again is a MVP for all the content clearing here, because he has an armor up, he can deal with that Havoc easily. The Iron Man Infinity War, below 18%, just heavy attack or counter heavy attack his heavy attack, it should be fine. The Mysterio can be somewhat annoying with the reflect damage, but just pay attention to the effects. And then there's the Captain America Infinity War, which is one of the more annoying fights here. This could be another stopper for a lot of people. He has the crit me with your best shot, I think it's called, node, and he only gets damage from critical hits, and he has this weird phase where he takes nothing and you can't get hit because he'll deal all the damage to you, and it's kind of a weird fight. You'll see what I mean when you get into there, but you just deal damage by doing critical hits and critical hits only. Now, with that said, 6.3 is done. 6.4 is now upon you, and this is where the end of your pain kinda starts, because after 6.4 you'll have a lot more fun, in my humble opinion. Act 6 is the most painful piece of content in this game, story content in this game. So Iceman, make sure to use either a champion that's immune to his debuff, Cold Snap that is, or use champions that are tanky. If you use tanky champions, then his Cold Snap won't deal as much percentage-wise. He should survive, he should be good. Otherwise, just heal up before you go into the boss fight. Make sure you have some potions, because if you revive for, let's say, 20%, I'm pretty sure his Cold Snap damage will take you out, and you won't even get to play as much, because the Cold Snap will just trickle you down before you can even do anything. So, Iceman, not difficult, but could be annoying based on your potion stash and possible counters and techie champs. Then there's the Ragnarok, pretty straightforward. Then there's Darkhawk, keep him at a special 1, don't let him go to the special 2, don't knock him down if you can, because that keeps him in his phase where you can hit him. If you knock him down, he goes into a different phase, he gets auto block, slows the special 2, gets a regen and stealth mode, and it all gets annoying. Just don't knock him down, so don't heavy attack him, don't special attack him, just hit him with your basics and let him throw his special ones. Block those, evade the last hit, go in, easy, and that should be all done. Then there's the Cap Marvel 6.4.4. She's pretty straightforward, pretty easy, before you go into the Hydra Adaptoid, and he is kind of annoying. He has, I think he has a regen, but I might be wrong. But after every special, he goes unstoppable, and he has unblockable specials as well. So you want to dex his specials, but you also want to stay away from him because he goes unstoppable after each one of them. I don't think, maybe his regen is tied to his unstoppable or whatever, but yeah, he's pretty annoying. So you can parry him when he went into unstoppable, but make sure to dex his specials. You'll get through. It's just an annoying fight. You'll get through using some boosts and potions maybe. I'll also talk about boost farming, by the way, in a second, or I guess at the end with the alliance modes, because they're kind of all ties into each other, kind of. So yeah, that'll make sense in a second as well. And then after the Hydra Adaptoid, we have the Grand Master. Now I'm gonna start covering the boss's abilities on a broader spectrum here, kind of giving advice on what to do, when and how, and what champions might be good. The Grand Master is interesting because this could be either very easy and straightforward or very annoying and difficult based on how fast you can learn his abilities. He has these tokens of competence which you need to gain completing missions, and starting the fight you want to ban your attacks, kind of. You want to do some light attacks until he bans light attacks, do this until he bans that, you know, trickle him down. And then he'll go into a wounded phase after that, after you've banned your parry, your light attacks, your dexes and medium attacks, maybe even heavies, I don't know. But yeah, he'll go into a wounded phase, you'll be able to deal damage, and then you'll also gain tokens of competence from his special one. He'll give 3 prompts. It could either be get hit by the special one, it won't deal damage. If it is get hit, it won't deal damage and you should be fine. Or block, or it is dex. And if you do all 3, you get a token of competence. If you miss one, you get a red token, and add 3 or 5, no, probably I think 5 red tokens. He gains a special 3, and you're insta killed if he throws it. So you want to get these tokens of competence, and then you want to get enough to where he goes into a wounded phase, deal damage in the wounded phase, and go on and go on. As the phases go down, he gets more difficult. He gets reverse controls and some other stuff, but you'll see when in the fight. But yeah, those tokens are really the important system you want to learn as fast as possible when you fight him. Now, champions that are good against him is just any champion that has a high crit rate and crit damage, or just damage output in general. Just easy, accessible damage. Hercules is fine. Crit Monkey, as we call him, is fine. After the Paragon speedrun, you saw that. Crit Monkey is fine. And yeah, you want to just use those sort of champions. Those are not the only 2 options, by the way, but those are 2 examples that I used in my Paragon speedrun that are great. Just easy, accessible damage, and that should be fine. Now, some of those challenges later on in the phases also might include intercept or damaging effect, So you might want to bring a champion that has a damaging effect. That's why with the hit monkey, the bleed effect would be great, and stuff like that. So yeah, just bring the champions that make sense for the fight. Gosh damn it, this is a yawning simulator. And then yeah, you should be fine. At this point, you should have completed Act 5, should have explored Act 5 for those resources. And in the entirety of Act 6, frustration really does more to you than the champion you're fighting will ever do. So frustration, keep that at bay, kinda. And then each of these chapters in Act 6 will also give offers. It's the completion offers for probably around 1,000 to 1,500 units. They are worth it if you have the spare units, if you do farm arena. But if you have a little amount and you have to spend them on mastery still, then maybe not. But in general, they are pretty worth it. Now, if you want to farm resources, boosts, revives, and stuff like that, there is the daily quest for revives. It's the apothecary, and that is currently the way to farm revives as Kabam, the game makers, have intended. I know there's in one of these variants, if you complete like one of these, and you can farm, you know, revives in some of them, but it's really tedious. I would just advise you to do these on a daily basis. Try to get your revives from there, and if you need, use your units to get more, and you should be fine. Now for boosts, it is the special tab here. It is these crystals, the Supreme Solo Crystal. I know you have these, the gold and ISO 8 ones, but really in my opinion they aren't worth it compared to the other crystals. You get those shards from completing the solo and alliance events. I'll show you in a second here. Over here, look at this. Milestones give you the shards. Use the shards to buy these. Let's say I open 6 of these, right? This will give me 200,000 gold and 3 5,000 ISO bricks. That's 120,000 of those shards. This pop of 10 is 100,000 shards as well. I need 2 more to even the amount out, but as you can, this is actually a pretty unlucky roll, but we get some boosts. We get an awakening gem for a 4-star, so won't use it, but get an awakening gem, but usually you get a little bit more. I'm gonna open another one. We got, yeah, more than double the boost now, so we got even more. You get arena boost, which you can use to get more gold and stuff, but yeah, this is really the best way to get those boosts. In my opinion, it's worth more than buying these gold and ISO crystals. I just bought them for the video, so but yeah, that's where I get my boost from. I'm not gonna open more because I already have them in the overflow, but I have 400 more of those crystals, so really I have boost for all eternity of me playing this game. And that's really the way for me to get boost. You get boost from those chapter deals as well, which are good, 30% boosts actually, and those you can't get from the crystal that I just shown you. So yeah, that is Act 6, boost and revives real quick, and how to just get around it, and getting ready for the Grandmaster. And I think I have, yeah, I guess at this point, start watching some Grandmaster takedown videos, because that really will help out. And of course, I would recommend this, but I have live streamed pretty much everything I've done on the Paragon Speedrun account. So there's 35 days of live streams on the channel in the live stream section, and everything I did live on stream with my advice in the moment and going through with everybody watching and everybody live. That is worse than I would play with nobody watching, of course, because I would get nervous and stuff like that. But yeah, there was also people with me in voice chat and stuff like that for some of the boss fights. We had MSD for one of the Kang fights. We had Marshy for a lot of the fights actually. So big shout out to those two. Those were the ones hopping on the calls. And yeah, it was great help completing those bosses. So yeah, just go over there, take a look if you really need to. You have some live gameplay. But without further ado, we're gonna get into Act 7. So, before hopping into Act 7, this is probably the point where you start to realize that ISO is a big deal in this game, and that ISO is actually holding you back, probably, from ranking up and leveling up some champions. Yes, ISO is difficult, and that is something that I can't take away for you. ISO is something that in this game currently is very hard to obtain, and I really wish that gets fixed in the future. But there's some stuff you can take into account, and that is obviously being careful with your resources, being kind of stingy with who you put your ISO into, and that's not just in the game. But before hopping into Act 7, it's worth considering a couple things. Because by completing Act 6.4, you now have gained the ability to become Thronebreaker. Now, if you are already Thronebreaker at this point, which means completing the Grandmaster and then also having a rank 3 6-star, then great. You might want to start by not going into Act 7 and actually starting on, not in the daily quests, misclick. Might want to start on the Shooting Stars quest, which is locked by the number of 7 stars you have, but even if you have none, you can at least do a first time clear, and this will get you, first of all, a very cool Starry Eye title, but second of all, it'll give you Paragon shards and a frick ton of tier 6 class ISO 8 selectors. And yeah, this is really just great. This is good stuff, and that really helps with progression, and that might help leveling up some champions that you need going into Act 7. Now, for the bosses in here, the Gore and the Wong are probably the most annoying ones. Just look up some guides, look up some fights of those, and you should really be fine. They aren't too difficult if you have the right counters. Just Human Torch if you have him, the Wong, and Long Shot the Gore if you have him. Those are the two probably best options out there to easily counter those. But yeah, that might be a consideration before hopping into Act 7, starting the Shooting Stars quest as far as you can, and then going into here. Now, 7.1, or Act 7 and 8 in general, gets interesting for a multitude of reasons, because there's now multiple bosses to choose from. So yeah, you have 3 bosses in all of these quests going from Act 7 to Act 8.3. So I'm gonna stop with the boss explanations, because it's really gonna depend on how your roster has formed over these past couple weeks or months, and each boss kind of has their own counter. So you might have a counter for one of the bosses that I don't have a counter to. So for me, I have a different easy completion path than you do, because you have counters for this path, I have counters for another path, and that really just makes it difficult to say or tell you what path you should choose. Without saying that though, I'm gonna cover the chapter bosses, because those do get interesting, because from this point on, the chapter bosses are locked, except for the first chapter, because that is still a 3-peat boss. But in chapter 2, you have the Gwynmaster. Now, the Gwynmaster is interesting. Could be a... I'm just going to throw in a random team to show you the quest here. The Gwynmaster could be easy, could be difficult. Again, same as the Grandmaster, she goes through different plot armors as you wish. But yeah, I'm just gonna go through. She goes through plot armors. You have to complete the challenges representative to each one of those armors to get the armor down and deal damage, etc. Some of the plot armors go down by throwing specials, some of them by intercepting, some of them by countering a heavy with a heavy. And there's just a lot of stuff that goes into these. I recommend you just look up another one of those guides. Maybe, I think during my Paragon speedrun, I pulled up the guide from KT1 on stream. We watched it together, went through, beat the boss, and went on with my day. If you get her kind of down with the rhythm and stuff, you should be fine. But Grandmaster is an interesting first 7.2 boss here to look forward to. Then in 7.3 you get a Kang, and this is the, what is the exact name? Is it the timeless Kang, or is it the, well, it's a Kang that influences time. Time collapses is what you want to get into. Time collapses you can kind of see as the wounded states that the Grandmaster had, and you want to trigger them by following certain prompts. The prompts pop up on your screen. It's either have a special 1 or special 2 or special 3, and it will pop up on screen. You want to get your power to that level, he'll go into a time collapse, you'll get to deal damage, etc. You want to get to a special 3 first in the final stage, and you can really influence your power by blocking his special attacks, I think. No, I think it's dexing to gain power, blocking to reduce your power, or it's one or the other way around. But dexing and blocking influences your power. You use that to get the right prompts. Right prompts trigger time collapses, and you deal damage. That's basically it. He can be annoying though. Again, on the Paragon speedrun, he wasn't too bad. It's actually the next Kang that I struggle more with. But this all depends on you as a new player and what you're used to, how fast you can adapt. So that's the 7.3 Kang. Time collapses and prompts and specials and stuff like that is really what you want to take into account. Now 7.4 is where stuff gets interesting, because if you complete 7.4 and you have 3 rank 4 champions, you are then Paragon. The rank 4 champions is usually the difficult part, but if you have those and you beat this guy, you are officially Paragon, which is one of the highest titles in the game, so congratulations if you already have. But yeah, Paragon is great. It unlocks a lot of stuff in the game, and it's pretty much the best rank you can be if you're not a end game player that is die hard on doing Necropolis. So we have the Kang here. The Conqueror of Time is always active, as you can see, but he has a way to beat him as well. He has 4 phases. In the phases, you want to either trigger buffs, or trigger debuffs, and then in the next, like, trigger unique buffs and unique debuffs. And based on those, you get him down faster. He has 4 lives pretty much. Again, did this full fight on stream with MSD on call. With the final units I had on the account, I beat him for the Paragon unlock, which is great. Final revive, huge moment that I still remember. Absolutely great. But yeah, he has those 4 lives that he goes through, and you want to use unique buffs, unique debuffs to get him down faster. So for the unique buffs, I think Howard the Duck can actually do a lot of these already, but Human Torch is great. Howard the Duck is great, but there's just a lot of champions that will do well here. It's not the most difficult, but you need to, again, get his timing down, because he changes the speed of the game constantly with his phases and special 1s. So you need to get that special 1 dex down, but also get it down in slow-mo, and then get it down sped up and stuff. So it really gets interesting. And this boss actually took about 300-400 units-ish, if I remember correctly, to get down on the Paragon speedrun account. So he's a bit interesting. But yeah, it's a work in progress. It's a work in progress. But if you've beaten him, congratulations, you've beaten Act 7. And as you can see, there's a lot less to talk about than Act 6. So Act 7 is really pretty cool to do. It's fun, and then Act 8 will be even more fun, because Act 8, again, you have the 3-peat bosses in all the chapters, and then there's one final boss that's locked. This one in particular, in the Pitch Black quest, is Cytalis, and we're just gonna go through those bosses. Cytalis, you want her to throw her according special to place a trap. Then you want to wait until the trap is set, and then either with a heavy attack or a special, knock her into her own trap. She'll get locked, you can deal damage, blah blah blah, end the story, easy, and get her down. She really wasn't that bad. And again, as I always recommend, look up a completion on the boss, look up a guide on specifically the boss. I'm not going to include those in the video here because I would have to make a guide on each and every single boss, which I'm not going to do. I'm just going to walk through a progression guide and how the game should be followed in 2024. Then in Act 8.2, I'm again not covering those 3 bosses in each quest because it depends on your roster and I don't know your guys' roster. So in Act 8.2 there's the Bahamut boss, this guy, and he for me never really caused issues, but for some people causes a lot of problems. Bahamut is a Hulk variant, which he has these volatility charges which you want to get. 3 of them, and he throws this ball at you. You either want to throw a special into it or stuff like that to get him to drop his guard and deal damage. Purifying debuffs also give volatility charges, but you gain them by standing close to him, and that is something that could be annoying. You take some block damage and stuff like that. And then eventually in one of his final phases, you want to play ping pong with that green ball. You parry the ball, goes back to him, ping pong until he gets dropped by it, and it'll reduce his armor. You'll deal more damage as you ping pong more after each special with those charges, and yeah, that'll get him down eventually, but it's pretty damn difficult. So shrug off champions, because purifying the debuffs will help skill champions, but the purify are great for this fight. I used Elsa and it cost me like 3, 4, maybe 5 revives, but it really wasn't that bad. And that was on the new account speedrun account. New speedrun account. What? But yeah, it wasn't that bad. Bahamut though, he's an interesting one. So that is chapter 2, the boss, Bahamut. And then there's chapter 3, there's Cerestes. And Cerestes is really not that bad and is considered one of the easiest bosses in the game, I think. Way easier than, let's say, Timeless Kangs or Grandmaster, or I guess even the Collector, comparatively speaking, is more difficult percentage based than this guy would be. But he has these suit armors, which is the 3 of them. It start at 300, and it's they get reduced by either throwing a striker, knocking him down and hitting his block. You can't do 2 of those actions after each other to reduce him. It has to be alternating, and then when they're all, or when one is at 0, you'll deal more damage. When the second one goes to 0, it'll refresh the first one, unless it expired obviously and goes back up to 300, but it'll refresh the first one and it'll keep 2 at 0. Same with the third, and if all 3 are at 0, you can do a lot of damage to him. He'll get stunned and you can deal the damage. Go through those phases. Final phase, you wanna just evade him for the final 5%. He'll tick down and then hit with a light attack, I think into his block, or just into him, either one, but you should be fine. Really not that bad. Cerestes is an easy boss fight in my opinion. Act 8.4 isn't released yet, but I imagine it to be more fun, enjoyable stuff, and then maybe a more difficult boss for the final of the act, but I really think it won't be as bad as one of those earlier bosses that we just talked about. So yeah, that is, I guess, going through all the story content. With that said though, I do want to cover some other things still, because there's still much more to be said about this game. There's the alliance modes that I want to get into, and then after you've done Act 8 there's also Necropolis. So we'll get into Necropolis first, and then we'll get into some of the alliance modes. Now, with that said, I just want to quickly touch on that ISO issue as well. If you at any point in time have a excessive amount of energy, you can just go into the ISO fields, auto-complete the ISO fields for some remaining leftover energy. If you really don't have time to do anything, like I do this a lot. Just select the ISO that you want to use or whatever, and be on your merry way. And then if you want to, you can also go back into the Shooting Stars quest, and the boxes in the quest will give you ISO as well. And even after you've 100%ed, you can still get the ISO. And I think it's 10k bricks. Or 5k bricks. It's pretty good though. It's a pretty good value for a quest that is only 1 energy per step. So yeah, that's pretty good. Let's get into Necropolis though. Necropolis is the end game content here, and I am not the biggest fan of these long, grueling story content type pieces, as I have only done the first completion of this. But I do like that this is a piece of content that will probably be relevant for a long time, and that people have something to work for, or work up to, as you would. These fights take a ridiculous long amount of time. My first clear, I used a rank 4 Aegon, wasn't prepared, used 100 plus revives on my total run, but it's something to save up for, to save your boosts, revives, units, and everything for, and to complete this. And this is really, at the moment, the only way to get Valiant, which is the final title in this game. So Valiant is a 2 rank 3s, and you get a generic one from there, and you get a 2 to 3 rank up gem from the completion. There's also a 7-star Maestro and a 7-star launch pool selector for if you have not pulled any of these champions, or any one of these champions that you would really like. This is just long form content. Each path has different nodes, different counters, different champions. There's plenty of Necropolis guides and live streams out there, so I'm sure there's something that can help you. But Necropolis is currently the only way to get the Valiant title. I think 8.4 will change that. You might still need to do a first time completion, but you can maybe also clear 8.4 for that second rank 3. So with that said, Necropolis is still relevant. Shooting Stars, in my opinion, still very relevant, especially if you're, if you have a lot of extra time, you don't mind rerunning the Shooting Stars. You can really get some ISO from that. Besides that though, I have only not covered the majority of the Alliance events. So I'm gonna cover Alliance Wars, I'm gonna cover Alliance Quests, and I'm gonna cover raids for as far as I know, because I've really not done raids much. But we'll hop right into those game modes and see what I can tell you about it. Okay, Alliance events. Now, this is where your activity in the game might come into play, because if you're playing this game on a daily basis, well then great, because you can get a lot of rewards from this. If you're not, then you might want to throttle down or throttle back, or hold in your throttle as you would from some of these game modes. The first one I'm starting with is Alliance Quest. It's energy based, but Alliance Quest Energy 6, as you can see, I have right now, and then there's Alliance War Energy as well. You use the energy to set steps in the map, and as you complete the map with your alliance, you're in 3 battle groups of 10. You go through mini bosses and then a main boss. There's a couple tactics to go through. You can clear the entire map for most points, and then there's maps 1 through 8. This is, I think, map 6. But the tactic we do is just clear the boss as fast as possible, and then spend remaining energy on whatever random fight you can get into. I'm just gonna go into one so you guys can see. There's a cooldown on your fight. You have to start within the minute of going into the fight, and then once you're actually in the fight, then there's 3 minutes to complete the match, and then you'll be kicked out. Mainly because otherwise you're taking up space your alliance mates could be using, and if you can't complete the match, then they can finish it for you. This is a somewhat longer match because we have different nodes. There's different nodes in Alliance Quest. As you can see, I get weaknesses put onto me. That's because of me being close to the Sorcerer Supreme here. I actually have to pay attention now. Yeah. Besides that though, it really just comes down to doing the matches and getting the points. The mini bosses give a lot of points, and then the main boss gives the most, which makes sense, obviously. So that's why we just rush the minis, rush the main boss, and then just get remaining points from these fights over here. You can see that really doesn't give that much, and the main bosses, they 6 million points, they give the most. So that's Alliance Quest. You complete this every single day with your alliance. Your alliance can put the days in the schedule, and then the previous leaderboards, whatever. But yeah, on a weekly basis you get glory, and glory is not that, that's Mysterium. Glory is awesome, because again, there's a store for it. There's a lot of stores in this game based on currencies. Glory store, its main use for me at the moment is either getting ISO or getting the tier 6 basics and tier 3 alphas. I think those are the main things you should take into account. Those are awesome, and that's pretty much all I spend my glory on. So that is Alliance Quest. Now Alliance War is a bit different. That is also still a daily thing when the seasons are up. It's season based. I will show you. Season 47 will start in 5 days, I think, or is it 47 just completed? It's whatever. But yeah, there's a ranking system once it goes live, you can see, but there's season rewards for each rank your alliance is in. And I think we placed what, gold something last season in a somewhat laid back-ish alliance. Same thing as Alliance Quest with the nodes and the map completion and the energy, but then just less to complete but more difficult fights. And you can place your defenders in the assigned battle group, so you can see my Groots on defense obviously, and some others as well. So yeah, and then you get points based on defender diversity, how fast you take the opponent down, and then there's also the rewards for each individual war. So if you win, you get, depending on the rank you're in, what tier you're in, but yeah, tier 6 as we are in, you get some 7-star shards. With the battle groups, you get some 7-star shards, etc. Top 0.15% gets more, obviously. As you go higher, you get more and more and more. And that is Alliance War. Now, Alliance Raids is something else. It is also a quest, but with just a couple bosses. And based on your attackers, they all have different... what would you call them? Different groups to put your attackers in. And based on those, you take down the bosses, you get chests from those bosses, and your battle group just takes on multiple of those, or multiple minis to a final boss. And I don't know how else best to explain it. When it's in your game, you will probably know what I mean when you see it, but yeah, just a couple bosses on different types of attackers, and you'll clear it, get the rewards. It's pretty good rewards actually, but it's a lot of effort in my opinion to go through, so I haven't really participated in much of that. Now, I think with those 3 alliance modes covered, I think I've pretty much covered the entire game so far, hopefully. If I've forgotten anything, please do let me know, and let me know down in the comments below if you want me to cover anything else. If there's something you feel like I haven't covered, I might have already made a guide on it in the guides playlist on the channel, so check that out before you comment something like, I want an energy refill guide, because I'll get into that. Energy refills just means use your units. That is the best and cheapest possible thing. Get the energy refills, buy in with units, and then just farm units. So make sure to utilize that. But before you go asking, please do check the guides playlist, or just comment something below on maybe you've forgotten this, or I think you should add something about this, and I'll comment down below so that people can read the comments, go through and see whatever might still be helpful for them as well. If you want to see other things, let me know, and I'll be open to all of that. Don't forget to join the Discord, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I really do hope you've enjoyed, and I guess I'll see you guys around. So take care and peace.